Hello, all you beautiful people out there, and welcome to Saturday Livestream, where I make fun of the Bible. And I'm probably going to be a little more hard on it than I usually am, and I'm usually hard on it. So, anyway, let's get on into the live stream. And we start with the comment of the week. And today's comment of the week comes from Jehovah's Witnesses governing body. And it comes from Doorknob Head. Jumping Jehoshaphat. Religion is largely in the business of lying. Ain't that the truth, Doorknob Head? I think I read a study somewhere that people who learn to lie to themselves and others just get more and more comfortable with lying. I figure this is something religion might take advantage of, and maybe this helps explain all the lies upon lies. If there was a lie, if there was a this lie begat this other lie section accurately chronicling all the lies religions make, it might take up a whole library all in itself, seemingly. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely agree, Doorknob Head. Definitely agree with you there. Uh, yeah. So, how many lies are in the Bible? I have no clue. I, you know what? That's not something I'm interested in even trying to look at because there are so many lies. Okay, so today in history, U.S. begins Berlin airlifts. On June 26, 1948, U.S. and British pilots began delivering food and supplies by airplane to Berlin after the city is isolated by a Soviet Union blockade. When World War II ended in 1945, defeated Germany was divided into Soviet, American, British, and French zones of occupation. The city of Berlin, though located within the Soviet zone of occupation, was also split into four sectors, with the Allies taking the western part of the city and the Soviets the eastern. Actually, the Soviets were part of the Allies, but we'll let that pass. So anyway, um, so yeah, I don't know why they put Allies in a separate category than the Soviets, because in World War II, the Soviets were always part of the Allies. It wasn't like they were Italy and changed sides at the last minute. Anyway, um, so let's get on to the main event. And I agree, Lisa. I agree. A- Absolutely. And, if you want to believe that shit, go ahead and believe it, but doesn't really help anybody. Um, okay. So we're in Deuteronomy 15. At the end of every 7 years, you must cancel debts. This is how it is to be done. Every creditor shall cancel any loan they have made to a fellow Israelite. They shall not require payment from anyone among their own people, because the Lord's time for canceling debts has been proclaimed. Okay, now you have to remember this. This is called the Sabbath year. And at the end of seventh Sabbath years is, hey, Paul, is the year of Jubilee. Okay, so the Sabbath year was never celebrated. So the seventh year was never celebrated. So this never happened. Okay, no debts were ever canceled. Neither was the year of Jubilee ever celebrated. So, you know, that's a lie, just like what we were talking about earlier. Um, Verse 3, you may require payment from a foreigner, but you must cancel any debt your fellow Israelite owes you. However, there need be no poor people among you, for in the land your God is giving you to possess as your inheritance, he will richly bless you, if only you fully obey the Lord your God and are careful to follow all these commands I am giving you today. Yeah, no thanks, God. Hey, Vandalia. Yeah, tell me about it. Um, so, yeah, uh, God, I mean, Israel wasn't the kingdom of Israel, the United Kingdom, first of all, did not last as long as the Bible says it did. And second, it was never as big as the Bible said. It was just a small little kingdom. Even the United Monarchy was small. Um, Verse 6, for the Lord your God will lend to many nations, but will borrow from none. You will rule over many nations, but none will rule over you. And we see yet another lie. So we're only in not even in verse 7 yet, and we have two lies. Verse 7, if anyone is poor among your fellow Israelites, wait a minute, you just said there were to be no poor, and now you're saying if there is poor. What the fuck, God? Make up your mind. Exactly, Lisa. Um, do not be hard-hearted or tight-fisted toward them. Rather, be open-handed and freely lend them whatever they need. Be careful not to harbor this wicked thought. The seventh year, the year for canceling debts, is near, so that you do not show ill will toward the needy among your fellow Israelites and giving them nothing. They may then appeal to the Lord against you, and you will be found guilty of sin. Again, the Sabbath year was never. Thank you so much, Paul. Paul says, have a cup of tea. Thank you so much. Okay. Uh, Verse 10, give generously to them and do so without a grudging heart. Here we go with thought crime, people. Here we go with thought crime. Isn't thought crime part of the bite model? Oh, yeah, it is. Then, because of this, the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in everything you put your hand to. There will always be poor people in the land. Again, what the fuck? You just said there will be no poor people. And then you just now contradict yourself. You just said there will be no poor people like 3 verses ago, God. Make up your mind. There will always be poor people in the land. Therefore, I command you to be open-handed towards your fellow Israelites who are poor and needy in your land. Notice, he says, be generous to your fellow Israelites. Fuck the foreigners. We don't give a shit about the foreigners. You know, just, take care of your fellow Israelites. Verse 12. If any of your people, Hebrew men or women, sell themselves to you and serve you 6 years, in the 7th year you must let them go free. And when you release them, do not send them away empty-handed. Supply them liberally from your flock, your threshing floor, and your winepress. Give to them as the Lord your God has blessed you. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt. No, they weren't. Never happened. And the Lord your God redeemed you. That is why I give you this command today. But if your servant says to you, I do not want to leave you, because he loves you and your family and is well off with you, then take an awl and push it through his earlobe into the door, and he will become your servant for life. Do the same for your female servant. Do not consider it a hardship to set your servant free, because their service to you these 6 years has been worth twice as much as that of a hired hand. And the Lord your God will bless you in everything you do. Yeah, I'm sure a slave, I don't give a shit if they call it a servant. They're slaves, okay? Even fellow Israelites are slaves, because the only way they can be the servant of another Israelite is to sell themselves into debt slavery. So, yeah, I know, right? Seriously. But that's a very interesting point, Lisa, because the Christians are like, well, men can't wear earrings because earrings are feminine, but you just pierced a guy's ear in the Bible. Um, wouldn't that be like an earring? What's up with this? You know? So anyway, if any of your people, oh, sorry, um, I forgot. Yeah, really, Lisa, debt slave. No, they don't. No, they don't, because if they did, they wouldn't be a Christian anymore. They just wouldn't. Ask me. That's what made me an atheist. Reading the Bible. You mean I really worship this monster? Give me a fucking break. Verse 19. Set apart for the Lord your God every firstborn male of your herds and flocks. Do not put the firstborn of your cows to work, and do not shear the firstborn of your sheep. Each year you and your family are to eat them in the presence of the Lord your God at the place he will choose. If an animal has a defect, is lame or blind, or has any serious flaw, you must not sacrifice it to the Lord your God. You are to eat it in your own towns. Both the ceremonially unclean and clean may eat it, as if it were gazelle or deer. But you must not eat the blood poured out on the ground like water. And for any Jehovah's Witnesses who happen along this video, that does not mean a fucking blood transfusion, okay? Eating blood and getting a blood transfusion are two different things. Okay. Verse 13. Celebrate the festival of tabernacles for 7 days after you have gathered the produce of your threshing floor and your winepress. Be joyful at your festival, you, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, and the Levites, the foreigners, the fatherless, and the widows who live in your towns. For 7 days, celebrate the festival to the Lord your God at the place the Lord your God will choose. For the Lord your God will bless you in all your harvest and in all the work of your hands, and your joy will be complete. 3 times a year, all your men must appear before the Lord your God at the place he will choose. At the festival of unleavened bread, the festival of weeks, and the festival of tabernacles. No one should appear before the Lord empty-handed. Each of you must bring a gift in proportion to the way the Lord your God has blessed you. Hey, Rabbit. Um, I I think it was back in the commandments, Marianne, the one they used to justify that, but it's repeated here. Um, God, this God, okay, not that I believe in this God, okay, but seriously, this God is a fucking moron. He can't even remember what he said 3 verses earlier. Um, verse 14. The nations will dispossess, the nations you will dispossess. Listen to those who practice sorcery or divination. But as for you, the Lord your God has not permitted you to do so. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among you, from your fellow Israelites. You must listen to him. For this is what you asked of the Lord your God at Horeb on the day of the assembly, when you said, let us not hear the voice of the Lord our God, nor see this great fire anymore, or we will die. And so this is Moses speaking. Rabbit, he always repeats himself. Does he have Alzheimer's or something? Uh, okay. Verse 18. Appoint judges and officials for each of your tribes in every town. the Lord your God is giving you, and they shall judge the people fairly. I guess Samuel's sons didn't. If you don't know that story, don't worry about it. We'll get to it. But it's on down the line. But God promised, hey, I'm going to let you have judges that are going to judge you fairly. But Samuel's sons didn't judge fairly now, did they? Okay, do not set up any wooden Asherah pole beside the altar you build to the Lord your God, and do not erect a sacred stone, for these the Lord your God hates. Okay, so an Asherah pole, I've got a couple of videos on Asherah. Um, Asherah is the consort of El, uh, who is the head of the Canaanite pantheon. Um, so Asherah is the consort of El. Now, um, the pole or the tree is her symbol. And so that's what he's talking about here. Um, he doesn't, it's almost like he's saying, I don't want a wife. Don't give me a wife, which makes no goddamn sense. Yeah, Rabbit. Yeah, I know. So anyway, alrighty. Chapter 17. Do not sacrifice to the Lord your God an ox or sheep that has any defect or flaw in it, for that would be detestable to him. God, you just said that again. Do you have Alzheimer's? Verse 2. If a man or a woman living among you in one of the towns the Lord gives you is found doing evil in the eyes of the Lord your God in violation of his covenant, and contrary to my command has worshipped other gods, bowing down to them or to the sun or moon or stars in the sky, and this has been brought to your attention, then you must investigate it thoroughly. If it is true and it has been proved that this detestable thing has been done in Israel, take the man or woman who has done this evil deed to your city gate and stone that person to death. On the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, a person is to be put to death, but no one is to be put to death on the testimony of only one witness. Okay. So I believe this is where the J Dubs get their 3 witness rule from. And this is where they're getting into a lot of trouble with CSA right now because of their 3 witness rule. Notice it doesn't say 3 witnesses about that kind of stuff. It says you shall not put someone to death unless you have 3 witnesses, which I don't agree with the death penalty anyway. Blood for the blood god. But anyway, um, anyway, yeah. Um, verse 8. If cases come before your courts that are too difficult for you to judge, whether bloodshed, lawsuits, or assaults, take them to the place the Lord your God will choose. Go to the Levitical priests and to the judge who is in the office at that time. Inquire of them, and they will give you the verdict. You must act according to the decisions they give you at the place the Lord will choose. Be careful to do everything they instruct you to do. Act according to whatever they teach you and the decisions they give you. Do not turn aside. Just do not turn aside from what they will tell you to the right or to the left. Anyone who shows contempt for the judge or for the priest who stands ministering there to the Lord your God is to be put to death. You must purge the evil from Israel. All the people will hear and be afraid and will not be contemptuous again. Yeah, because we want power and you're not allowed to question us. Okay, verse 14. When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, and have taken possession of it, and settled in it, and you say, let us set a king over us, like all the nations around us, be sure to appoint over you a king the Lord your God chooses. He must be from among your fellow Israelites. Do not place a foreigner over you, one who is not an Israelite. The king, moreover, must not acquire great numbers of horses for himself, or make the people return to Egypt to get more of them, for the Lord has told you, you are not to go back that way again. So, kings are not supposed to pile away riches for themselves like David and Solomon did. Gotcha. Even though David and Solomon definitely did. Yeah, that sounds about right. When he takes the throne of his kingdom, he is to write for himself on a scroll a copy of this law, taken from that of the Levitical priests. It is to be with him, and he is to read it all the days of his life, so that he may learn to revere the Lord his God and follow carefully all the words of this law and these decrees, and not consider himself better than his fellow Israelites, and turn from the law to the right or to the left. Then he and his descendants will reign a long time over his kingdom in Israel. Kings, don't bother. You're not going to be reigning very long, and it's a waste of time to read this shit. I know, right? I told you, God has Alzheimer's. Chapter 18, the Levitical priests, indeed the whole tribe of Levi, are to have no allotment or inheritance in Israel. Gee, thanks God. They shall live on the food offerings presented to the Lord, for that is their inheritance. They shall have no inheritance among their fellow Israelites. The Lord is their inheritance, as he promised them. I think I'd rather have land. At least I can see land. This is the share due to the priests from the people who sacrifice a bull or a sheep, the shoulder, the internal organs, and the meat from the head. You are to give them the first fruits of your grain, new wine, and olive oil, and the first wool from the shearing of your sheep, for the Lord your God has chosen them and their descendants out of all your tribes to stand and minister in the Lord's name always. Um, no, these idiots decided that they were going to co-opt the power for themselves so that they can have all this shit for themselves. If a Levite moves from one of your towns anywhere in Israel where he is living and comes in all earnestness to the place the Lord will choose, he may minister in the name of the Lord his God, like all his fellow Levites who serve there in the presence of the Lord. He is to share equally in their benefits, even though he has received money from the sale of family possessions. Verse 9. When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, do not learn to imitate the detestable ways of the nations there. Let no one be found among you who sacrifices their son or daughter in the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft, or casts spells, or who is a medium or spiritist, or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. Because of these same detestable practices, the Lord your God will drive out those nations before you. You must be blameless before the Lord your God. Verse 14, the nations you will dispossess, listen to those who practice sorcery or divination. But as for you, the Lord your God has not permitted you to do so. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among you, from your fellow Israelites. You must listen to him. For this is what you asked of the Lord. Seriously, I am not repeating myself. This fucking book is repeating itself. Verse 17, the Lord said to me, what they say is good. I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their fellow Israelites, and I will put my words in his mouth. He will tell them everything I command him. I myself will call to account anyone who does not listen to my words that the prophet speaks in my name. But a prophet who presumes to speak in my name anything I have not commanded, or a prophet who speaks in the name of other gods, is to be put to death. You may say to yourselves, how can we know when a message has not been spoken by the Lord? If what a prophet proclaims in the name of the Lord does not take place or come true, that is a message the Lord has not spoken. That prophet has spoken presumptuously, so do not be alarmed. Okay, people, this is what's wrong with America today. Idiots are listening to these false prophets that even their own fucking God says are false. I mean, we've got Kat Kerr, and Kat Kerr's like the craziest, idiotic person I've ever seen. But I mean, there are other people too. There are others, like Tony Spell, but they're like, oh, well, Trump's going to be back in office in March, and excuse me, it's June, almost July. Yeah. Chapter 19. When the Lord your God has destroyed the nations whose land he is giving you, and when you have driven them out and settled in their towns and houses, then set aside for yourselves 3 cities in the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess. Determine the distances involved and divide into 3 parts the land the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, so that a person who kills someone may flee for refuge to one of these cities. This is the rule concerning anyone who kills a person and flees there for safety. Anyone who kills a neighbor unintentionally without malice aforethought. For instance, a man may go into the forest with his neighbor to cut wood, and as he swings his axe to fell a tree, the head may fly off and hit his neighbor and kill him. That man may flee to one of these cities and save his life. Otherwise, the avenger of blood might pursue him in a rage, overtake him if the distance is too great and kill him even though he is not deserving of death, since he did it to his neighbor without malice aforethought. This is why I command you to set aside for yourselves 3 cities. What fucking sense does this make? Verse 8. If the Lord your God enlarges your territory, he won't, as he promised on oath to your ancestors. Not even going to go into that one. And gives you the whole land he promised them, because you carefully follow all these laws. I command you today to love the Lord your God and to walk always in obedience to him. Then you are to set aside 3 more cities. Do this so that innocent blood will not be shed in your land, which the Lord your God is giving you as your inheritance, and so that you will not be guilty of bloodshed. But if out of hate someone lies in wait, assaults, and kills a neighbor, and then flees to one of these cities, the killer shall be sent for by the town elders, be brought back from the city, and be handed over to the avenger of blood to die. Show no pity. You must purge from Israel the guilt of shedding innocent blood, so that it may go well with you. Do not move your neighbor's boundary stone set up by your predecessors in the inheritance you receive in the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess. 15. One witness is not enough to convict anyone accused of any crime or offense they may have committed. A matter must be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. Okay, so this is where the J-dubs get their 2 witness rule, or 3 witness rule, or whatever the fuck it is. So you can pretty much, you know, uh, a little kid, as long as you do it in the privacy of your own home, which doesn't make any goddamn sense, because who the fuck with an ounce of brains would do that in front of somebody else? Verse 16. If a malicious witness takes the stand to accuse someone of a crime, the 2 people involved in the dispute must stand in the presence of the Lord before the priests and the judges who are in office at that time. The judges must make a thorough investigation, and if the witness proves to be a liar, giving false testimony against a fellow Israelite, then do to the false witness as that witness intended to do to the other party. You must purge the evil from among you. The rest of the people will hear of this and be afraid, and never again will such an evil thing be done among you. Show no pity, life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. This is not even, the Bible didn't even think of this first. This is in the code of Hammurabi, which is an ancient code. Yeah, I know, right? I mean, that's why most of the time, um, courts nowadays don't rely totally on eyewitness testimony. I mean, 5 people can see the same goddamn thing but see 5 different things, basically. It's a mind trick. Uh, chapter 20, and this is the last chapter for today. When you go to war against your enemies and see horses and chariots and an army greater than yours, do not be afraid of them, because the Lord your God, who brought you up out of Egypt, will be with you. When you are about to go into battle, the priest shall come forward and address the army. I would much rather have a battle-hardened general address the army instead of a goddamn priest. But what do I know? He shall say, Hear Israel, today you're going into battle against your enemies. Do not be faint-hearted or afraid. Do not panic or be terrified by them. Yeah, because, you're going into battle where you can, you know, be stuck by swords and lose a limb or possibly even lose your goddamn life, and you're not supposed to be afraid to go into battle. What the fuck is this? Um, verse 4. For the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies to give you the victory. The officers shall say to the army, Has anyone built a new house and not yet begun to live in it? Let him go home, or he may die in battle, and someone else may begin to live in it. Has anyone planted a vineyard and not begun to enjoy it? Let him go home, or he may die in battle, and someone else may enjoy it. Has anyone become pledged to a woman and not married her? Let him go home, or he may die in battle, and someone else marry her. Good one, God. This makes total fucking sense. Because, the Israelites are getting here that you're going to go into battle and they don't want to risk losing their life. So they're just going to, you know, oh, do you want to marry me? Kind of shit. Yeah, that's real good, God. Great going there. Verse 8. Then the officer shall add, Is anyone afraid or faint hearted? Are you fucking kidding me? Who the fuck in their right mind is not going to be afraid? Let him go home so that his fellow soldiers will not become disheartened too. When the officers have finished speaking to the army, they shall appoint commanders over it. When you march up to attack a city, make its people an offer of peace. If they accept and open their gates, all the people in it shall be subject to forced labor and shall work for you. Okay, this sounds like they got this bit from the Assyrians, because the Assyrians were like fucking horde monsters. I mean, seriously, you did not want, if you lived back in this time, you did not want the Assyrians setting their sights on your city. And by this time, I mean the real time that this fucking book was written, not the time in which it's purported to have been written. Um, So anyway, so um, the Assyrians, um, they had a reputation of, if basically if you gave up, you know, they were going to spare you. They would spare um, men, women, and children if they gave up, you know. But if they had to fight, they were going to kill everyone and everything. Okay. So basically, at this time, um, when a city heard that the Assyrians were coming, they would just open up their gates. Really like, fuck it, we want to live, you know. Um, verse 12, if they refuse to make peace and they engage you in battle, lay siege to that city. Why? It's their own fucking city. You're the one that's trying to take to to take control of the quote unquote promised land. It's their fucking city. Why should they make peace with you? Makes no fucking sense. Verse 13. When the Lord your God delivers it into your hand, put to the sword all the men in it. As for the women, the children, the livestock, and everything else in the city, you may take as plunder for yourselves, and you may use the plunder the Lord your God gives you from your enemies. This is how you are to treat all the cities that are at a distance from you and do not belong to the nations nearby. However, in the cities of the nations the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, do not leave alive anything that breathes. Completely destroy them. The Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, as the Lord your God has commanded you. Blood for the blood god. Otherwise, they will teach you to follow all the detestable things they do in worshiping their gods, and you will sin against the Lord your God. When you lay siege to a city for a long time, fighting against it to capture it, do not destroy its trees by putting an axe to them, because you can eat their fruit. Very generous of you, God. Do not cut them down. Are the trees people that you should besiege them? Oh, so God cares more about the trees than people. Good one, God. However, you may cut down trees that you know are not fruit trees and use them to build siege works until the city at war with you fails. Alrighty. And that is it for today. Thank God, because I don't think I could have dealt with much more shit today than that. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, right, Rabid? I don't care if you kill people, but don't you dare touch my goddamn trees. You hear me, Israelites? So, anyway, yeah, such a kind God, right? What did they do with the children? They killed the children too. They killed the babies too. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the God that the Christians say is such a loving God and will forgive you time and time again. And He wants you to come and suck His dick so He can forgive you. And it blows my mind that I it blows my mind that I ever believed this fucking stuff. But then, of course, I never read Deuteronomy until a few years ago. Okay. Never read it till a few years ago. Because you know why? Well, we're not under the Old Testament. So you don't need to read that stuff. Well, you know what? If God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, it's your fucking God of the Old Testament and the New Testament. So, yeah, whether or not you have to follow the Old Testament or not, He still did all that shit. If you believe that, which I don't. So, anyway, thank you all for showing up. Thank you, Paul Camish, for your £5 donation. And thank you, Lisa Irwin, for being a channel member. If you would like to be a channel member, uh, the join link is down below. You get cool emojis, um, and also some members only perks, which includes the emojis. Lisa, how about showing some of the emojis? And let's see. So yeah, that's about it. And I will see you tomorrow for Atheist Church. Um, Goodbye and have a great rest of your day.